we always wind up in the same places.
Yep.
Okay, we're live. Welcome everybody to the Celebrity First Roundtable. Tonight we've got some really special guests on with us tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and send it around the table and let everybody introduce themselves.
Which way?
Go ahead and start with you, KB.
Hey, I'm KB. I own 5150 rifles down here in beautiful Never Rains, Texas. I created the rapid action cam to eliminate the pivot bin takedown pin system, among other things on the AR platform. Matt over there representing. Actually, our very first dealer, as well as our neighbor. So yeah, that's me. I guess next easy transition, Matt. You know, he's already showing off his rack.
Go ahead, Matt.
I'm Matt Unrah. I own R2 Ammo. We originally started 15 years ago in Leander, and we've been in Liberty Hill, Texas for the last 4 years. Proud to be an industry partner with 5150 Rifles and the innovation that they're bringing along. We do pretty much everything in our shop, from manufacturing ammo, gunsmithing, laser engraving, custom coatings, lots of training. We do everything from a basic handgun, I've never touched a gun, all the way up through training and licensing level 4 personal protection officers and private investigators. So we kind of are diverse, and we learned over the years to be diverse because this industry is brutal. So if you kind of don't have a few things for the slow times, then sometimes it can be a little tough.
That was something I learned being a general contractor for 20 years, that, you can do everything under the sun. And as soon as you tell, your client comes with some off the wall question, hey, can you do this? Don't bat an eye. Say, yeah, we can do that, and then go home, learn how to do it, spend the weekend mastering it, and then go back on Monday and get the job done. Because as soon as you tell somebody no, the next person that tells them yes is filling all of your customers' needs the next day. So It's good to be well-rounded and diversified. I feel like
that leaves us with Dan.
I'm Dan Voss. I'm the author of the Good Gun, Bad Guy book series. Also the host of the Loaded Mic web show, which is a primarily Second Amendment web show. But we get into topics, political topics of the day. I also write for AmmoLand. I'm a spokesperson for AmmoLand. I am a spokesperson, somewhat of a spokesperson for Gun Owners of America. And just an all-around Second Amendment advocate. Travel around the country, do speaking events, and try to knock some common sense into these anti-gun liberals. But
yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
And the owner of three Corvettes.
3 Corvettes.
Go ahead, Michael.
All right. So I'm Michael Voss. I'm the owner of No Sound Bites Allowed. It's political commentary. I've been doing it for about 15 years. But I'm also a massive Second Amendment advocate. I go to colleges and speak about it very often. Massively involved in trying to stop the New York SAFE Act, the red flag laws, which I absolutely despise, and pretty much everything that comes out of the mind of New York State. I know, Dan, we've done interviews before. We have like minds, just like Mike Marshall and Frank. So that's who I am, a little bit of an ombudsman.
Go ahead, Frank.
And he is a thorn in the side of just about everybody who meets him on the opposition. I have seen people from 3 blocks away screaming, "There he is! There he is!" yelling and screaming. And Mike's got to be like the most calm, reserved guys that you'll ever see. He just asks nice, pointed questions, and all he has to do is just to ask a question with an honest tone. And the amount of horrendous feedback that this guy gets so that's when you're doing your job right, when everybody's screaming and hating on you. But me, I'm Frank Johnson. I'm the co-founder of the Liberty First Foundation, along with Mike Marshall and Jeremy Bishop. And I'm just your all-around gun guy weirdo, and I just like to make jokes, crack fun, and have a good time. But I am a diehard Second Amendment dude, born because of the Second Amendment, will die defending it. And that's why I'm here, and that's what I do. And unfortunately, I got a broken foot, so I haven't been able to get to the range in a couple of weeks. So all the range review videos I've been doing have been out in my backyard while I've been sitting on a bar stool. So the neighbors aren't that thrilled with the live ammo. Well, no, I'm not using any live ammo. I've been being
Use
good.
some of that R2 ammo, huh?
No, if I was using the R2 stuff, I know it would work. It's the shit I get off the shelf at the store that I'm not too sure about.
Well, you would have never gotten hurt if you'd have been running our ammo in the first place. So,
well, I don't think the place where I was working would have appreciated me letting rounds off at the time that I fell into their storm drain, but it was a non-gun related injury.
I'll go ahead and round things out. I'm Michael Marshall. I'm one of the co-founders of the Liberty First Foundation, and I am an advocate of the Constitution. I believe in an originalist interpretation of the Constitution, and I kind of push that every chance I get. So that's kind of who I am.
He downplayed.
So who wants to start off the conversation?
Well, let's see. What fun things could we talk about today? There are so many exciting things.
I don't know, 87,000 new IRS agents?
That I was thinking HR 1808.
Yeah, HR 1808.
Yeah. Let's talk about monkeypox.
Oh, God. You know what? This is real simple. Let me answer that one real simple. Before you have random sex with strangers, look at their body. Wear protection. Done. We solved it. The world is safe. We are done. Is that hard? It's so simple.
Don't go injecting common sense into this.
Of course, that might equate to people having to up their standards and actually turn on lights to look. So, might be counterproductive.
Well, if you need the lights off, you need a new partner. That might be part of it. If you can't tolerate what you do in the visual side of it, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it.
Exactly.
That's just I don't know. No judgment. Not passing any judgment. Love. Everybody deserves to be loved.
Hi, Jan. It's great to see you tonight.
Dan's sitting down there in the middle going, what the hell did Frank get me involved in tonight?
Well, I mean, if we want to get into the gun stuff, Michael V just said, he mentioned HR 1808. This is another so-called assault weapons bill. It's got a lot of other stuff in it, but it's very similar. It's actually very similar to the New York SAFE Act in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. There's a whole list of semi-automatic rifles that are on the list to be banned, and it's very similar to the 1994 so-called assault weapons ban that sunsetted 10 years later because it did nothing to stop violence. Remember, they promised that it was going to stop violence. We're going to ban all these semi-automatic rifles or these assault weapons. They create the name assault weapon. Remember Dianne Feinstein holding up the AR-15 and
with a finger on the trigger.
Yeah, right. And the idea there was that the assault weapons ban would sunset 10 years later if it did nothing to stop violence, and it did nothing to stop violence. It literally did nothing. And so now they want to try it again. It's not really about violence. Right.
That's why they're changing the narrative. And they aren't looking at all violence. They only concentrate on gun violence. That's the only way they can show that they have any impact.
Yeah.
Regardless that other violence is actually increasing because nobody is able to defend themselves against it.
Well, they're putting the criminals back on the streets. So they seem to be creating a victim predator society. They got bail reform, they got early release, they got all sorts of nonsense. Hochul let out almost 200 people from Rikers Island while she's trying to crack down on, to totally defy the Bruin decision with her new New York State gun laws. And it looks like they're trying to create a victim predator society. They want people dependent on the government, it seems.
Before we go further, I want to ask one really interesting question. We have a massive amount of knowledge before us. Does everyone here, Do you know the one firearm that 1808, the supposed gun ban, assault weapons ban of 2022, that it allows people to have?
Yeah, so they allow a bolt action.
Revolver slide action operator.
There's one that's famous, that is world famous.
A Branding automatic rifle.
M1 Garand.
That's right. Yeah,
it is.
Well. According to the Penguin, Jerry Nadler, the M1 Garand is the less lethal version of the assault rifle. It's less lethal. Right? The gun that General George S. Patton called the greatest implement of war ever invented. This is the less lethal version. And in the same breath, said the AR-15 is the civilian version of the M16. So then what the hell are we debating about, Jerry? If this is the rifle that you just acknowledged is the civilian version, then if it was designed for the civilian market, the civilian use, what the hell you got such a hard on about it for?
Because I disarm people or compliant people.
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah, they just don't want you having guns. Period.
I don't have any. They all.
Well, that's it. Exactly. Okay, because if you have guns, then you might resist some of the things that they're pushing towards you.
Yeah.
Hey, the lion doesn't like the porcupine's quills.
Yeah. Well, the Bruin decision was awesome because what it said in there, which I think we're going to start to see the effects of later on as we go down the road, was this historical tradition. It was this piece in there called historical tradition. And in other words, any new current or new laws coming down the pike would have to meet historical tradition. And they're talking about historical, meaning back in the colonial days. So we're going to have a lot of ways to fight gun laws as we move down the road here a little ways. It's just going to take some time.
Yeah, but you know as well as, and we've gone over this 100 times here. You know, they know that they're building a house on sand. They know that their foundation is going to crumble.
Yeah.
But they don't care about it because they have got an infinite number of bricks in which to reconstruct from, and that's taxpayer dollars. They don't care how long it takes. They don't care how many times they lose. Their entire agenda is just to completely exhaust our resources, our time, and our energy. It doesn't matter how many times they keep trying to ban it because we're going to keep fighting it. But we don't have the endless supply of resources that governmental agencies have. So they can keep they can keep coming up to the bat every time in a brand new uniform, brand new cleats, brand new everything. We're the ones who have to keep fundraising. We're the ones who have to keep battling. We're the ones who have to keep doing all this over and over again to the point where we're exhausted emotionally, mentally, financially. We can only go to the well so many times and ask people, hey, we need some help to help fight these laws. Eventually people get frustrated and annoyed and they stop donating money, and that makes it harder for us to fight these laws. And that's how government wins. Government knows this, so government continues. Now, if we were able to have some sort of legislation put forth where it said they're only allowed to spend X amount of dollars in their litigation against Second Amendment, organizations, or they're not allowed to, or they can't use government funds to institute the policies that they're instituting, but we're never going to have that. So we are always going to have this uphill battle until we do the one thing that's most important: clear the halls of Washington with everybody who wants to violate our constitutional rights. We have got to put more constitutionalists and more people who respect freedom and respect our founding documents. Otherwise, we're never going to be done fighting. This is just going to keep going on until they wind up having a left-wing majority in the Supreme Court, and then the cycle will start all over again. That's if the nation lasts that long.
Well, part of the problem is the politicians shouldn't be able to get rich. You need term limits, and they shouldn't. If you make $174,000 or $194,000 a year, you shouldn't leave Washington. If you ever leave Washington, a multimillionaire. So the money will corrupt them and their values that they claim to espouse or have, because at the end of the day, someone's writing them a check for millions of dollars. All of a sudden, they'll be like, that's not really a true violation of the Second Amendment. We can let that slide, and there's your slippery slope.
You know,
Well, here's the thing: is one of the biggest problems is since 1920, our Congress, our House of Representatives, has been stuck at 435 people. Our population's almost tripled since then, and our representation has not increased. The biggest real problem that we see right now is the people are no longer represented. Special interests are represented. And it's the special interests with the deepest pockets and the loudest voices that get heard. The people are no longer heard from. It's lobbyists.
Yeah, it's crazy that we're seeing these people who have no concept of what they're talking about so often are trying to put this legislation forward. And I always mention to everyone, it's like, this will never make you safe. You know what's the easiest thing? If any of them actually were being honest, they actually had something that worked. Why do they never quote any bill that has ever been passed on how successful it is? They never say, oh, here's the numbers from the red flag laws that have been around since 1999. Here's the numbers from the New York Safe Act since 2013. Here's the last gun ban that they did in 1994. Here's the success rate that we have. Not once. Why is that so hard for people to get? They won't quote the number because there is no number. Why are we letting them do this? And why do we let them get rich while they do this? It makes no sense.
Well, they need their $55 quart ice cream.
Kathy Hochul tried to do that by claiming that New York is the fifth safest state in regards to gun violence. However, what she neglected to mention was New York is also ranked 25th in overall violence. And in many categories, murder being one of them, it is actually in the top 10.
Well, she even went so far, CBS News, when she first came up with this idea to try and step on the Supreme Court, destroying a whole division of our government, she decided to say, CBS asked her, so do you have any data that concealed carry permit holders in New York State, that they're committing crimes, or that there's an increase in the number of crimes? Do you have any data? This came from CBS News, New York. Her answer was, I don't need that information. That is literally a direct quote from her. She said, I don't need the data. I just need to take care of people. That is a dictatorship. Mm-hmm. That's why we have a Second Amendment, for when someone stupid gets in office and says some insanity like that. I don't need justification. I'm powerful. Yeah, I need my AR-15. I need to get me an M50. I need everything that I can get my hands on, because that's a dangerous person. At least that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know this, but just recently there was a leaked FBI document. I don't know if you guys know this, but just recently it was. It had a list of all this imagery and all these flags and all these logos, and it included stuff like the "Don't Tread on Me," the Moulin Rouge, all these different patriotic, the Minuteman, and a lot of the Revolutionary War stuff. And I'm doing an article on it right now, and it'll be out early in the week in Ammo Land. But what they're doing is they're deeming groups that use these symbols as violent militia terrorists, basically. And it was leaked. It was an FBI document that was leaked. Ted Cruz did a little piece on it. I'm doing a big blown up piece on it this week, but nobody's really talking about it. Project Veritas leaked it out, and what they're trying to do is basically demonize conservatives and Second Amendment supporters. You're going to hear more about this over the next few days. And it's kind of like what Hitler did. I mean, he controlled the propaganda.
It's exactly what Hitler did to the Jews.
Right. Demonized the Jews. and turned everybody against. So that's what they're trying to do right now. They're trying to demonize patriots, and it's just so freaking evil. I never thought we'd be experiencing this in America. Luckily, we have a little thing called the Second Amendment. We have the Bill of Rights, and they can't seem to get through that, which is their big struggle. So,
well, according to that more than trustworthy individual, Stephen Ray, our illustrious FBI, head honcho over there, the list is only, all right, for those of you listening on audio, this is a wink, and a nudge. These are only indicators. They're not conclusive. They're just indicators.
Yeah, just like they didn't post that parents going to school board meetings were domestic terrorists.
Yeah, with Attorney General Merrick Garland going after every PTA because parents said, "What are you teaching my kids?" But that's not even the worst of it. I mean, remember, there's also here's something interesting. A lot of people miss this. In 2013, the Obama administration did an independent study because of the Sandy Hook. And in that study, they found that the defensive use of guns in America is equal to or exceeds all gun crimes in America. In fact, having a defensive use of a gun saves 500,000 American lives every year. There's a quote that no one will ever mention, and it comes from Obama. It comes from the Obama administration.
Yeah, they said between 500,000 and 2 million times a year, the presentation or presence of a firearm is what stops a crime from taking place. Now, I always, people always talk.
Brent froze.
They're actually. Did he freeze up?
He froze up. Go ahead.
Yeah.
They're actually. Oh, there he is.
I was going to say, I used the car accident analogy from the NTSB. I say, if you were to go to the NTSB, which keeps track of all the different accidents and everything all over the country, and say, how many accidents took place because somebody neglected to hit the brakes on their car? At some point, you'd be able to come up with a number, and they say, okay, well, there was X amount of people that got into an accident. All right, that's a number that you can quantify because something actually took place. There was a result. There was something that you could look at that was conclusive. Right. But then turn around and ask the same people, how many accidents did not take place because somebody managed to hit their brakes in time? Nobody has an answer for that because there's no way to reflect upon it. Yeah. These are events that did not take place because something intervened. Something happened that prevented the end scenario from taking place. And then when they say, well, it has to be almost all the time. Every time you step on your brakes, you're preventing an accident. You pull out of your driveway, you hit the brakes. You don't hit the tree across your street. You get to an intersection, you hit the brakes. You don't roll into the intersection. Every time you hit the brakes, you prevent an accident. There's no way to quantify the numbers because it happens so often, and there's no impact at the end of it. When you present it to them in that frame of mind, I've actually had people stop and think about it. And I said, how many times do you think somebody comes up to a house, they're going to try and break into the house, and just before they smash that back door in to try and get in, they notice the United States Marine Corps logo on the back of the guy's pickup truck or the NRA sticker on the back of the guy's pickup truck was something that would indicate the people in this house are probably going to shoot you when you go inside. How many houses do people not have get broken into? How many times is there something that gives somebody the hint? Maybe this person is going to fight back, and something doesn't happen to them. Criminals pick the most vulnerable targets because criminals don't really want to get shot. They don't want to get lazy. They sure as shit don't want to get arrested. So all of those instances where crime doesn't take place, what is it that dissuaded the perpetrator from acting? And that's the probability that something bad was going to happen to them. So,
case in point, if you guys are familiar with Gun City, USA, which is Kennesaw, Georgia, I lived there for a while. Beautiful place. Kennesaw, Georgia, 27 or 28 years ago, passed a law that says if you live in Kennesaw, Georgia, you are required by law to own a firearm.
Yeah.
They have had one shooting non-fatal in 28 or 27 years since that law has been passed, because criminals don't want to get shot. And that town is 30 or 40,000 people now, 50,000, something like that.
Are you trying to tell me that there's some kind of evidence behind the ideology that if more homes have guns, that break-ins in homes and that sort of crime would decrease? That seems crazy to me.
Well, if we go back to what Frank was saying, there was a study by Gary Kleck and Mark Gertz, and it showed that there were 2.5 million defensive gun uses per year in America. It's not always good guys killing bad guys. It was 95% of the time, just the presence of a good guy with a gun stopped the crime. And these were reported, these were interviews, these were, however they did their study. So 2.5 million defensive gun uses from that study. Georgetown University did a study that showed 1.67 million per year in America. And the CDC did a study that showed 2.46 million. So there's a huge number of defensive gun uses that they don't want you to know about. As a matter of fact, that CDC study, they held that back because they didn't want it letting out during Obama. They didn't want the information getting out because it didn't help their narrative. So vast majority of gun usage is defensive, if as opposed to gun related deaths, is somewhere around.
Well, we can actually look at other correlations as well. We can look at states like California, New York,
Illinois,
and look Michigan. At how gun violence has actually increased in many areas there, and how actual violence has increased, violent crime.
God, I hate that phrase.
In those states.
I don't use gun violence.
Gun violence. Yeah. I hate that phrase.
It's
violence where a gun is present. That's,
But Michael's right. Where there's more gun restrictions, there's more violence because people can't defend themselves, like Chicago and
tends to be. I mean,
and we've not only seen it here in the United States, we've seen it overseas. Okay, what was it? 2018. London surpassed New York City,
but they used knives.
The amount of violent crime, even though London had far stricter gun laws than New York City did.
Yeah, they used knives.
Well, to the credit of the Bobbies over there, they now have knife receptacles on every corner where there used to be a garbage bin, and now you can go voluntarily drop your knife into the garbage bins. And then I guess somebody had found out not that long after they did that people were going around and snapping the locks off of the bins and then taking all the knives.
Yeah, go figure.
Well, Matt, you teach this stuff. What have you seen, or what is your experience?
I'm sorry, say that again. I didn't hear you.
I said you teach this stuff. You teach the defensive courses. You teach the LTC courses for those who are not in Texas licensed to carry. What is your personal experience on that?
We passed in Texas, passed the permitless carry. A lot of people call it constitutional carry. It's actually permitless carry in Texas now. And I've been teaching for 15 years, and I've always said that my endorsement for training, aside from safety, aside from the obvious, the big thing was education. Humans are inherently lazy. I don't know a single person outside of an instructor that'll read the state's penal code or the penal codes of other states. We want to be able to go to a class and then they hit the high points and tell us all the things we need to know. So I kind of thought after permitless carry passing, I thought, man, we won't have classes anymore. People will take the easy route. And we can get into a whole different discussion about government control and taxation and all that. But just from a training standpoint, I really thought we'd see a decrease. And ironically, we're coming up on a year now. We haven't seen any decrease. It hasn't had class numbers affected by it at all. I always start my classes with the question of why are you here? Why are you here today? Why are you getting training? And why do you want a license, especially in a permitless carry state? Why do you want to have a license to be able to carry a firearm out in public? And resounding, I mean, 99% of the answers I get are, I want to know the law. I want to know what my rights are, and I want to know the law, and when I can and can't defend myself, and what envelops that. So I've found that people want to defend themselves, and most of them want to do it legally and be educated on how to do it. But I also tell people that once you get your license to carry and you're carrying on a regular basis, the likelihood of you being victimized goes down. And it's not because people know you're carrying, because I encourage concealed carry. It's the, one, you've probably had some training and some education, and so you've got a little bit more situational awareness, paying attention to what's going on around you, and that's probably the biggest thing that gets into trouble. But people carry themselves differently when they've been trained, when they're armed, and they know that they can protect themselves, more importantly, be able to protect their family. Like somebody said it earlier, they like the easy targets, right? Victims are criminals are lazy and like the easy victims.
So you mean
the more we do to combat that and offset that and not appear as an easy target and a victim, better off, our numbers are going to go down as far as being victims and being a statistic.
Oh, but wait, you're just going to create the Wild West again.
Yeah, and it's been crazy here in Texas. We've literally had almost every day at 6 p.m. About the time the sun's going down, the bars empty out. Everybody gets out in the street, and they just settle the differences with 6-shooters. And unfortunately, that hasn't happened. I think that would actually probably be a pretty effective way to resolve conflict from back in the old days. It's like you had a beef, and it got to that point. You stepped out in the street, you handled it, and it was over after that. You're either good at getting it out of the holster and clearing a shot, or you weren't, and it better matter to you. So,
well, that's why you have to be smart. You want to pick a street intersection that has a north and south intersection as opposed to an east and west, so nobody gets a tactical advantage of the sun going down behind their opponent. And that elongated shadow and all the rest. In a street gunfight, those things matter. But do you really mean to say that law-abiding citizens, good people that are legally qualified to carry a gun, are actually showing up because they want to be better citizens and they want to know the law? And that is
the word you're looking for, Frank, is educated.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a wow.
It has literally surprised me, because I really thought, on our security side, those guys need a license. They got to renew their license to keep their job. So I thought, well, we'll continue doing security, but I thought, the license to carry class here in Texas is probably pretty much going to go away. Like I said, we've seen zero drop. People want to come and get educated, and the vast majority of the people that we bring in and that come through our class, we end up converting to either advanced classes or private instruction, because they recognize the value of education, not just knowing the law, but the value of, okay, I'm carrying a firearm out in public, and it sounded like a great idea. And now I've gone through this class that's kind of highlighted the criminal and civil liabilities that come along with it. I accept those to be able to protect my family, but they come along with it. And that means that I need to be better. And, we in our classes, we point that out. You miss a target or you shoot over, say, hey, what is that? It's a liability.
I'm glad the reason
the vast majority of our students are then asking for realizing, and I'm under par. I'm not where I need to be able to defensively carry, and scheduling those classes and getting further training, not just from us. We encourage them to seek out other instructors and trainers as well.
Well, I'm just glad you brought it up, because when you started having the big push for constitutional carry, one of the things that I had gotten a lot of pushback talking to a lot of instructors that I know was they were actually petitioning against the constitutional carry, because they were saying, well, a lot of people are going to go, they're not going to get trained, they're not going to do this. They weren't really looking at it from the constitutional end of it. They were looking at it from a bottom line end of it. They were saying, I'm going to have students not going to take my class. I'm going to start losing money. It's going to be harder for me to fill my classrooms up and everything. So there was a lot of pushback on constitutional carry from our side of the aisle, because people were worried about the financial end of it, what they were going to lose. They weren't necessarily thinking about, from like what you're saying, is that more people who are going to carry are going to want to do it conscientiously to make sure that they're not going to put themselves in a bad situation. I know guys that were real hotheads, and you would drive around with them in the car, and these would be the first guys that would be, yelling and screaming, a lot of road raging and all the rest of this silly stuff. And one day they went and they got a concealed carry license and they started carrying. And I noticed that driving around with them, they all became a lot more mellow. They all calmed down a lot more because they started to realize, hey, listen, I have now the responsibility of carrying this firearm. I can't act like a moron. I can't act like a jerk. I got to be able to be calm. I got to be cool. I got to be collected, because now you've got a lot more at stake. Now you have the ability to end that road rage incident a lot faster than you would have before. So it tempered people. It made people become adult very quick. You see guys, they'll say, I'm taking more classes. I want to become proficient. I want to make sure I don't ever have to use a firearm. They started getting that Zen mentality that they teach you in karate. People really started to focus and become, for lack of a better word, better people. A little bit more streamlined and a little bit more thoughtful in everything that they do, more aware of their surroundings, aware of the people that they're with, more, less likely to go out drinking, less likely to do things stupid. There's a lot of good that comes from being a gun owner that people who don't own guns don't really realize. They never figure that into the rationale, because they know they don't walk on that side of the street. They don't put those shoes on and walk with it. They let somebody else have the burden of responsibility of protecting themselves and their family so they can live a life that's carefree and not give a damn. Whereas we take on responsibilities voluntarily, but it promotes us to become better people.
There's something I want to
That's your
ask.
moment of Zen.
Yeah. I want to ask something. We all know many gun owners throughout the country and many organizations as well. Has anyone noticed anyone being more zen, more calm than the 741,000 machine gun owners in America? How about the 3.3 million people who own mines, grenades, rocket launchers? By the way, these numbers come from the ATF. These are the ATF numbers. So these are the National Firearms Act 1934 license 1 holders. And it's amazing, because I look at the numbers every year, and we've been having more and more people getting machine guns. We have more and more people who are getting tanks, literally. And yet they're calm. There's no problem. I mean, again, another group that no one ever talks about, no one ever quotes in all these discussions. There's more of them today than there were 5 years ago, and not a problem, not once. They have to be some of the most calm people I've ever heard of or known, and yet they have some of the biggest firepower that you're going to find anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine how calm I'm going to be when I own my machine guns.
Well,
Yeah.
There's a reason why there's a popular phrase, an armed society is a polite society.
Yeah.
It's not just about because everybody's armed, they're afraid of getting shot. It's because people take responsibility for owning a dangerous weapon. They take responsibility and know and understand the repercussions of what can happen if they do start flying off the handle. So they treat situations a lot differently than what they would in the past, before they became before they carried a firearm.
Yeah. And it's just an interesting observation. I mean, I wish more people could, they never invite any of us to Congress. They never invite us to the state houses. They never ask anyone who can give them all the data that they really avoid.
Well,
And
it
they
says
never
facts and data are 4-letter words.
Yeah. It's like, it's too much. No, it's too much. It's like, we can rattle this off on the top of my head. We can quote the data. I know I've seen Dan do it. I've done it. I'm sure you guys do it all the time. And I keep wondering, why is it so hard for us to just say the honest truth to the media, not to each other, but to
because
the media?
this isn't about the argument isn't about data. It's not about the truth. It's not about whether guns are good or bad. It's really about a political domination, really, is what it is. They know. We give them the statistics. I mean, the people from Moms Demand and the Brady campaign, we give them the numbers. We tell them specifically what these studies mean and how they, how they came about and all that. They have all the information. They know the deal. As Joe Biden would say, this is the real deal. It is.
Come on, man.
We do. We give them the information, but they know it. They don't care. It's really not about that for them. See, we always look at it from that perspective. I can't believe they don't understand. And we want to rattle them and we want to say, why don't you get it? Why don't you get it? These are the numbers. This is the truth. These are the facts. And we drive ourselves crazy trying to understand why they don't understand.
Yeah.
But because it's not about that. It's about, they don't give a crap. They want guns out of our hands so they can maneuver the country politically the way they want to do it. So it's an argument that we're fighting like hell, but we're fighting on the wrong, I guess, merits and values of the argument.
But that's
that makes
interesting.
sense. I hope that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. But the people that are in a position to write the laws and do the legislation and all the rest of that stuff, well, people keep saying, why are they so stupid? Why they're not? They're not stupid. Right. They know damn well they're playing to the lowest common denominator. They're playing to the group of people who are operating purely on irrational thought and emotion and the lack of being educated. They count on their constituents not looking at the facts, not doing the research, not doing anything, just being the ones that they can just quickly manipulate to run out into the street and hold up the sign. That's the
only place they can get a foothold.
Believe me, that Ciclin guy from Ciclini, whatever his name is, from Rhode Island, he knows damn well that a stabilizer brace on an AR pistol does not turn it into a bump stock that goes full auto. He knows damn well. He knows damn well that. And every now and then you get them to tell the truth. Once in a while you get them to know to tell the truth. But they don't care that they're telling the truth. They will continue. It always reminds me of, everybody remember Harry Reid?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Democrat majority leader for like 12 years, all right? This is a guy that went into, right on the floor of the House, he said, it's a well-known fact that Mitt Romney doesn't pay his taxes. He said this right there, every camera in the world. He knew it was a lie when he said it, but he didn't care it was a lie when he said it. It wasn't until after the election that somebody said, hey, remember what you said about Mitt Romney? Did you know that wasn't true? He goes, yeah, but it worked, didn't it? Yeah, Don't ever think for a minute that these people are stupid. They're not. They're not. They know exactly what they're doing. It's just how do we have too much integrity to lie about the facts because we don't have to lie about the facts. The facts speak for themselves. But I don't know how we play the game where we can out scumbag them. Because all people don't need to. We don't need to educate our side. We already know the truth.
But here's the thing, and I don't know if you guys have run into this before. I've had people who think that, like Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, she's the idiot who runs around saying an M16 weighs as much as 10 cargo boxes and fires 50 caliber bullets. She's out of her mind. Stupid. And I've had so many people that are looking, Mike, but she's Congress. She knows what she's talking about. I'm like, here's a video of a 7-year-old from YouTube who is shooting match shot with the same AR-15. Are you telling me that this Congress reality is not matching up? This is not a Predator movie. These two things don't match up. There are 7-year-olds that are doing this. I don't care what she says. And they're like, but she's a congresswoman. I'm like, I can't get that. I don't understand it.
And there are some people who have been so indoctrinated into that ideology and that anti-gun, anti-gun, narrative, that even when you show them undisputedly, the facts, their brain deletes it. They don't want to, because if they admitted that they were wrong all this time and that they were manipulated by the Democrats, they would have to admit that to themselves, and they would have to say, wow, I've been misled. And for some people that cuts right to their character, and they don't want to do that, so they, despite the facts, will just continue to go along so they don't have to have that kind of reality moment. It's a horrible piece of our psychology, but that's the way we are. As human beings, for some people, it's hard for them to admit that they've been wrong, and so that's what we're fighting against too.
Pride goeth before the
that's
fall.
a huge thing. Is pride. Okay, people don't want to admit that they're wrong. People don't want to take on that persona, and that actually causes us more issues as a country, because it's not only with guns. I mean, it's with a lot of other issues, and it comes from both the left and the right.
Yeah.
We get so indoctrinated, so tied up in our beliefs, our ideologies, that when we are confronted with actual facts that dispute our position and actual data points that shows why our position is wrong, we have a hard time accepting that, and we will go out of our way to find some type of evidence that supports our position,
that justifies it. Right, exactly.
Whether it's emotional, whether it's actual data points, or whatever.
I just I get amazed because all you need to do is look at an individual like David Hogg. Okay.
Oh God, I hate that guy.
Yeah, I know. I mean, look at this. But look at this kid, right?
He's sharp as a marble.
Yeah. I like that.
He's everywhere and anywhere you could possibly be. He's funded from on high. He's protected by armed security that run around everywhere with this little guy. But meanwhile, his antithesis, Kyle Khrushchev, I forgot his name, the other kid from the same school, who actually lost a family member during a thing, is out there. He's not a gun regulation guy. The other guy, Andrew Pollack, he's out there. Do these guys get nearly 1/20th of the media coverage that David Hogg gets? No, because the media they're predisposed to only broadcast a certain narrative. So everybody plays to that part of the audience. We don't have to play to all part of the audience. All part of the audience just likes us because we all do and say the same thing. We know the same thing. We don't have to lie to the people in our families. We don't have to lie to our side of the aisle. They have to lie to theirs. And getting them to the point where the people start to see the truth, the best way to do that is on an individual basis, I think. I have brought dozens of people over the years to the range with me who were not gun people. I have put guns in their hand. I have trained them. I have gone through the basics with them, blue gun all the way to the 500 Magnum. Gone through the whole thing, and all of a sudden now they got 9-line T-shirts on, running around Second Amendment this. If we are not the ones educating people at our level first, it doesn't matter what we do at the political level, because the media is against us, the politicians are against us, and they're both more than willing to lie to get their agenda across.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to take a little pause here. We got a new guest that showed up. Stephen Cleverley, would you please introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, I'm Steve Cleverley. I'm actually the distribution and agency specialist for Radco Loop CLP. I also worked with the two guys that are above and to my left, Keith and Matt. I do the coatings on the 5150 rifles and give Matt shit the entire time. So that's me in a nutshell.
Cool. Glad to have you here with us.
Well, welcome to the show.
I see everybody's got three of us have beverages. I don't have a beverage anymore. For those of you who were thinking I was drinking something of the alcohol variety, it was actually my Manhattan Special, Brooklyn's own Manhattan Special, the finest quality espresso soda on the face of the earth.
I think I want.
Yes, we're looking for a sponsor. We would love Manhattan Special to sponsor the show. If not, it's all right. I don't care.
But is that water?
I'm drinking Weller 107 Antique.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, I want to go with Keith. He's got the better one. That's right choice.
Keith's home is like an homage to fine drinking fluids. All the potables find their way over like to these little pristine shelves on it in his house.
Well, you use CLP to lube your gun. You use bourbon to lube everything else. It's hey.
It really is slick. Friction hurts.
You know what really hurts? Elephant head shaped wrought iron coat hooks. Those hurt. Jesus. Yeah.
What you do in your spare time, Frank? That's all you.
Well, when you're trying to avoid a 200-pound Great Dane at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you walk right into the wall, and one of them is sticking out of it, and you don't realize it until it's sticking out of you.
That would be my 5'2" Italian wife's dog, by the way.
There's a couple of private jokes in there. It's just
he's just speaking Jersey to you.
Yeah. I got a question.
Sure.
For all of our guests, have any politicians ever come up to you at any level? I don't care, state, local, federal, whatever. Have they ever come up to you and said, "Hey, you're wrong"?
No, and I welcome it. Bring it.
Because I've talked to a lot of people here in New York State, but they always, whenever it comes up, they're always like, "Well, you just don't get it, and I'll talk to you later," and they leave every time for me. But I'm wondering if you guys have ever had that experience.
Closest I've had is I had a Beto O'Rourke campaign person, whatever, call me to ask me to vote for Beto. And I said no. When she asked why, I said, because I like America. And she did not know what to say.
You're nicer than I am, Keith. I got the text messages from the Beto campaign, and man, you send me a text message, then I can think about my response. And I spent 12 years in the military, 8 years offshore as a diver. I know some pretty colorful language. After my text back to them, I just got a response that said, "Noted, we won't contact you again." All right.
That's good. But it's it's just so, and yet all of it, and they see this stuff all fail one after the other. They always keep saying, and yet they keep coming back to it. I mean, we're back to 1994 again. They know it's not going to work. It never did. It never will. And they're going to try it again until enough young kids don't know better, think it's all about some kind of Schwarzenegger film. And
the kids aren't going to, because the fact of the matter is they don't teach history or civics. Because if they teach history or civics, then people will actually be educated and have the tools to make informed decisions. The only way you can indoctrinate and make sure that you'll get history right this time is you erase your own history of ignorance and bigotry. That's essentially what they're trying to do. Let's tear down these statues. Well, they just happen to be 98% Democrat people they're tearing down. General public, most of them don't even know that Adolf Hitler admired the Democratic Party. He just literally copied things. There's multiple things out there you can read. And he even said once, to control people, to rule people, you must first disarm them. So he told people, he's like, hey, we don't want to take your guns. We just want to know who has them so we can protect you. And guess what? As soon as he had that list, kind of like the National Gun Registry they want to get done, all the guns were taken away from them. And now all these people can't defend themselves, and he can work his will. Gee, how is history repeating itself?
You know what's
And-
interesting, though, that they didn't expect, that kind of worked against them, that we've seen over the last couple of years, 2020, 2021, all the pandemic scare, everybody's in a panic. I can't get toilet paper, and my neighbor says I need to buy ammo. That run on ammunition and guns, we saw, I mean, we're a small shop, and we saw a ton of people come through acquiring their first gun or wanting training because they just bought their first gun looking for ammo. They were first-time gun owners, and these were people that 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago would have been appalled at the thought of someone even knowing that they owned a gun or they ever even thought about getting one. So in the panic of society, these people jumped on the bandwagon, went out and bought their first gun, and they bought them when prices were at their highest. So they're kind of invested now. And so we've seen people that statistically in the past would have been in favor of gun legislation, would have actually been our opposition, that now just dropped $1,000+ in guns and ammunition and gear and training and whatever else, that now this is personal for them, right? Now it's, I'm invested and I want to be able to protect my family and the things that I was just worried about. And we're kind of seeing them shift sides, maybe not politically, but certainly in the gun ownership, gun confiscation type arena.
Well, at least as it extends to themselves.
Well, this
At least as it'll, because you have plenty of people on that side of the aisle that are just fine with them owning a firearm, just fine with their personal security owning a firearm, just fine with living in a gated community behind 12-foot walls with barbed wire and video cameras and everything else. They're just fine with that. They're just not fine with you being able to defend you and yours.
Well, I'm going to piggyback off of what Matt said. When I was back home in Syracuse here a couple of weeks back, I stopped into a local shop that's it's smaller than R2. Over the last 3 years, he's had record sales every single year. And, you know, this is in rural central New York that you would think would be as far right as you could possibly get, seeing that Onondaga County seems to be the only red county in the entire state. But, you know, or Blue County, rather. But, yeah, Dennis is doing a great job. You know, they're selling ARs 1, 2, 3 a day, and, you know, there's no stopping.
Well, the big push started in 2020 after the riots, all the left-wing riots. The second half of 2020 brought us, I don't know, I can't remember. It was either
5 million.
8 or 12 million. How many?
5 million in 2020, 7.5 2021.
Okay, excellent. But that was just a huge jump in, you know, background check, and they found that almost half of the new purchases were first timers.
Yeah,
people who were probably left wingers living in apartments on the second and third floor of the buildings that were being burned down in Seattle. Probably said, "Wait a minute, this is crazy. I think I'm gonna look into this whole gun thing." And they went out, and then they were pissed off that they couldn't just go into a shop and walk out with a gun.
Yeah.
Well,
what do you mean? What do you mean there's no?
Right.
I saw that plenty of them would go to gun shows.
Right.
I want to take advantage of that loophole. Where's the loophole? I don't know. When you find it, let me know.
Yeah. Well, this is what you vote. This is what we're telling. This is what you voted for, you knuckleheads. You voted for politicians to put these laws in place.
Well, I want to
51% of new buyers female too. On top of
Huge number of female
40%,
buyers.
40% black, 51% women, and those numbers before were just the new gun owners, not including existing.
Wow.
And you know what I say to all those people? Welcome to the militia, y'all.
I want to interject something here real quick too. Whenever we see a breakdown in governance, okay, we saw it during Katrina, we've seen it during countless natural disasters, etc. In places where people tend to be armed, we see a lot less problems with looting, etc. In areas where people are armed, we start seeing a lot more people stepping forward to help their neighbors instead of taking advantage of their neighbors.
Yeah.
Well, John Lott's done a
That's
ton of
something.
studies
That's
on
something
this
else.
stuff. John Lott he extensively talks about where there's more, concealed carry, there's less violence, there's less crime. It's so true that, you go to the south side or west side of Chicago, there's more violence because there's more gun restrictions. You go, to other places where there's less gun restrictions and more people carry and there's less crime. That's just the way it is. And, the left pretends that they don't know this, and they continue to create more gun restrictions in the areas where people really need to be able to protect themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't everyone think it's crazy that the whole promise from the left for the last 40, 50 years of my life is this next law that we pass, the criminals are going to actually listen to that one. The criminals are actually going to follow the law because we just need one more law. Don't mind that we have 22,000 when you add them all together across the country, it's 22,000 gun laws. Mm-hmm. And their answer every time is, oh, but we just need one more. And they're going to listen this time. It's like, what?
Because the last one had a loophole.
Yeah, there's always a loophole.
Well,
the loophole was you can still own guns.
Well, because those right-wing obstructionists put a clause in the law that said criminals don't have to pay attention to this one.
Yeah, we're always the bad guys. I don't know.
Democrats, same thing.
Yeah.
Well, and when you throw statistics at them, then it's if all guns were eliminated, we wouldn't have this problem. I mean, look at other countries; they don't have the shooting-related incidents that we do.
Yes,
they have out-of-control edged weapon incidents, like commonplace every day. Mm-hmm. So you can eliminate something. People are just going to find the next tool. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot of education to know you can walk into a Home Depot or a Lowe's and acquire the things you need to make a pretty crude single-shot firearm if you really wanted to. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you outlaw and what's banned and what's gone and wiped from the face of the earth. Evil's still going to find a way. If I have an intent to do something, whether it's a bad thing or a good thing, I'm going to find the means to do it. I mean, that's human nature.
No, you're talking about
the guy who cut off Lee Rigby's head on the bridge in London didn't need a gun.
Well, the guy in Japan that shot Prime Minister Abe with his homemade double shotgun, there's your example right there.
Well,
and Japan is more restrictive than ever, and it still happened.
Well, and why is it that guns are the only inanimate object on the responsible? I'm sorry, but you get fat, you don't blame your fork. Jack Daniels doesn't get because he got drunk and over. Dodge doesn't get sued because you're a shitty driver. But the gun manufacturer, unfortunately, that's my world, is held responsible for a tool. An inanimate object, a machine, is held responsible for the actions
because guns are the only thing that can really protect our freedom. That's why they hate them so much.
Without the second, we don't have the first.
Yeah. Very true. What do you guys?
Well, remember when the police go to their cruiser and pull out their AR and use it to put down a criminal, it's a police-issued rifle. But when Kyle Rittenhouse uses it to put down the guy trying to kill him and defend his life from the other three people trying to kill him, it's an assault rifle.
Yeah, I believe they tried to make it racial also.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I still don't. I still don't see to make that connection.
They just lied about who it was. They just lied about the people being affected. It's crazy. But
I always love that one argument they say about civilians don't need these weapons of war. Civilians don't need this. If anybody remembers the Los Angeles shootout from like 25 years ago, those guys broke in, went into the bank. Yeah. They had illegally modified firearms that were later confirmed to have been purchased in Mexico, transported across state lines into the country. They get into this massive shootout, and all the cops had were their at the time their Smith and Wessons that they were carrying, because I don't think they had yet to adopt the Glock as their sidearm for LAPD.
That would be a police issued rifle.
And what they didn't have long guns. They had a couple of shotguns and cruisers or anything else. And the only reason the cops were able to put these two guys down is because one guy ran over to the local FFL and said, "I need what do you got here?" And he grabbed a couple of AR-15s. They loaded up a bunch of magazines, went back to the scene, and were able to put these guys down. Now, had those rifles not been available for the civilian marketplace, those two guys with the full auto guns who were out there in the middle of the street shooting up the neighborhood would have been able to continue to do so, and the cops would not have been able to stop them if it weren't for the guns that the civilians had access to. So if they would have had the assault weapons ban put out a year ahead of that, how many cops would have wound up dead in the street that day?
Yeah,
because they wouldn't have had the ability to fight back.
Yeah. It wouldn't matter because
lots riots in L.A. and Little Korea, Koreatown. Okay, I mean, a lot of Korean store owners were able to protect their businesses that were specifically targeted by rioters, and they were able to protect their businesses because they had access to assault, what they're classifying as assault rifles.
The one famous
modern sporting rifle.
The one famous photo, the guy had a Ruger Mini 14, and at the time was still being overlooked by most of these gun banners because it has a wood stock. It doesn't look scary, even though it's a semi-automatic 223/5.56 rifle, or its big brother, the Mini 30. That it was still a sport rifle at the time. But had they not had access to that, their buildings would have been burned down. Their livelihoods would have been destroyed.
Well,
they would have been the next Reginald Denny laying out in the street.
And a lot of them probably would have been dead.
And there's a good comment here on the board. Jan is talking about safe storage, and safe storage is probably the most unsafe thing that you could possibly do. I mean, who in their right mind would want their firearms and their ammunition to be unusable in their own home? But so you have to look at, why are they trying to push for these type of laws? And because the ultimate result is unarmed helplessness is really what it is. So somebody's going to break into your house, just like New York. You guys from New York know, I'm from New York too. So we have equal force laws. We have duty to retreat and stuff like that. Yeah. It's almost like, they want you to be helpless. Subjugated. They want you to be a victim. Every law that they pass, that's the result. And it's not about saving lives. They like the safe storage. Well, they don't want the little children to get killed. The number of children, not gang, and I'm not talking about the gang member children that they try to qualify as children. That's another story. The little kids, the number is so minuscule of accidents, but they'll use that to pull at the heartstrings of liberals to vote for these bills, when ultimately all it really does is make us unarmed and helpless. And I really believe that that's what they want to do.
Well, you can even argue that. You can even argue that with the safe storage laws, right? And one of the numbers that I see thrown up a lot by anti-side is the number of people that are victim to their own gun. Well, if your laws are so draconian that I've got to secure a gun in such a manner that it's not even a defensive implement, right? There's a difference between storage and securing a gun. Right. If I can't get access to that firearm and get it out to actually defend my family in time, and it escalates to the point that the bad guy's already in the house and gets that gun from my wife, my kids, whatever, well, then that number goes into the statistics of people who have their own gun used against them.
Right.
Well, if you're making me bury it and not able to get to it effectively to actually neutralize a threat, then what do you? Yeah.
And then we have another. One of the other issues too is that with this new law, transferring firearms and what it's making illegal is going to cause a huge rift in the community for people trying to help others who are maybe thinking about doing something stupid, like Sarah Albright. She's got holdmyguns.org. This is an organization that was set up so that people who were thinking about maybe doing something to hurt themselves could voluntarily take all their firearms, place them in storage at a local FFL. The FFL would take and record them all on the books, voluntarily keep everything in storage. The organization would help this person get them through whatever ordeal they were going through, help them with their mental issues or anything that they were dealing with. Now, that organization is not going to be able to fulfill their mission because now these guns are going to be unable to be transferred. So you're going to take away another outlet from people who say, listen, I'm going through about a depression right now. I really don't trust myself enough to have my firearms. I'm afraid that I might wind up doing something stupid. Well, sorry, you just have to hold on to them or give them up. Well, people don't necessarily want to take what they've invested and just turn them over to government, never to see them again. They don't want to turn them over to government because then they know that they wind up with a psychiatric evaluation that stays up on their record for the rest of their lives, ruins every aspect of their lives, any prospect for employment or anything else. This is a private organization looking to help people on a one-on-one basis. You take that away from people with laws like this. It hurts people, and it's going to wind up causing people to lose their lives. And they don't care about that because, like you were saying before, well, if it's another example of somebody having their gun used against them and they get to use that as part of their argument of why we need to, private gun ownership is a bad thing. Well, they want higher suicide statistics. They want higher statistics with kids getting, into accidental shootings. Anything that is bad that can come from the use of a rifle or a handgun or anything, the left wants it. They breed that kind of information. They love it. Nothing makes them happier than a dead child. Nothing.
They do. They walk on the graves of dead kids. They do it all the time. And anytime there's a school shooting, they love those numbers to be as high as possible, because when those numbers go down, and like Michael V was talking about, gun ownership goes up. Gun ownership going up and gun-related deaths going down is not good for the Democrats. They need those gun-related deaths as high as possible in order to push for more gun laws. Otherwise, they don't have the fuel to push for the laws. And it's Frank, I totally agree with you. I think that they are absolutely evil.
Guys, excuse me. There's one thing I want to mention about the safe storage laws that I haven't heard anyone else mention before. And I think it's important that we spread this around to everybody that we know, because there's another thing that's really dangerous about them. The only way a safe storage law works, there's only two ways it can work. One is after the fact. After something happens, then they go back and they see what kind of storage you have at your house. The only other way that they can actually effectively do safe storage is they have to come into your home and approve of the storage that you have. It is an excuse to violate your Fourth Amendment. They're going to violate your Fourth Amendment because they now have the right to say, hey, well, are you storing that properly? We have to check. Let's bring our people into your house and look around your entire house and show us where everything is in that house. And now who knows what things they're going to find or how they're going to punish you for exercising your Second Amendment right, whether you have the safe storage or not, because now they're in your home and you have no more privacy. That's dangerous, and no one thinks about that right away, but it's a direct consequence of it.
And then what happens when you deny them you violating your Fourth Amendment rights is you'll say, no, you're not coming into my home, and you're going to wind up getting angry. And then they're going to say, well, as an interested person, I am now going to go take care of some paperwork. And they're going to go to a judge, file a red flag complaint against you, and have the judge come in and say, well, since you wouldn't let us into your house voluntarily to violate your Fourth Amendment, now instead of you putting your guns away, we're just going to take them from you. And by the way, your kids will go to Child Protective Services, you'll lose your job, and you can spend the next 7 to 10 years litigating this in court because we have an insurmountable amount of money to keep prosecuting you while you don't have any money to defend yourself. So this is how they do it.
And coincidentally, we saw that you had a Gadsden sticker on your truck, and that's been identified by the FBI as a symbol of terrorism. So that just helped to build our search warrant.
Oh, is that a Betsy Ross flag hanging in your house?
Yeah.
You know, look, people don't realize that everything that these gun grabbers have been doing for the last 25 years have all been little tiny pieces of a big elaborate jigsaw puzzle that once it's all interconnected, that electricity is just going to go right through the whole puzzle and it's going to illuminate. The whole thing isn't going to be revealed until the last piece is put in. And once the last piece is put in, that gives them all the legal ability they need to screw at every single one of us whenever they want to. So, you know, everyone's, oh, well, we'll just give them an inch. Just give them an inch. Just give them an inch. They've been linking that chain together. Yeah. Every inch you give them is another link in the chain.
And one thing that I've been talking about a lot is that how they're running the red flag laws in tandem with universal background check. So here you have this whole new ghost gun thing. Really what it is it's a way to say, hey, listen, we got these scary ghost guns, and assume that they're supposed to be registered and serialized. You know, when did our founding fathers say, you know, the right of the people to keep and bear arms as long as they're serialized and registered with the government? It was never part of the deal. But now people think that guns should be serialized and registered. People who don't know any better think, well, yeah, that sounds like it makes sense. It doesn't make sense because it's all part of the universal background check. It's all part of the gun registry. And then you'll notice simultaneously they're pushing for the red flag laws on a national level, which, you know, you need the red flag laws would be confiscation without due process. And in order to confiscate the guns, you first need to know where they are, which is why they want the universal background check. So those two in tandem, I mean, like Frank was saying, the puzzle, the red flag laws and the universal background checks, in my mind, I see those as two very key components.
And now you see, you know, videos getting leaked out from various FFLs. So you got people that are coming over there inspecting the books, using their private telephone to take photographs so that they could have now an electronic digital record of what guns you bought. They know you bought a gun, but not what ones. But now they have ATF people over there going to the FFL, taking pictures of all the sale forms and everything. And then how is it that they're showing up at people's houses? Oh, you bought 2 guns? Well, we'd like to see them.
Well, no. I'm sorry. As an FFL, there's got to be people's right. We're supposed to safeguard their personal information. So I'm sorry. I would want to see where they're allowed to take pictures. Are they allowed to look at our logs, our 4473 transfer forms? Yeah, but if they're taking pictures with their personal cell phones, you know, I ran finance departments for years. You have to safeguard people's personal information.
Yeah, well, it came out last week. They had an agent from ATF going out to an FFL, and FFL gave them a back room for them to do their audit. And the agent, as they went in, they have a window that looks into the office, I guess like a classroom or something. And she's over there taking pictures of all the forms with everybody's information. They're not supposed to be doing this. And I don't understand.
I'm going to back this up just a little bit and say that there needs to be, I don't know, I hear stuff like that. And like Keith said, as an FFL, I know what their parameters are. I know what their length is. If we have audits, they came in to do an audit with me and I see the agent taking pictures, I'm going to shut it down. I have the right to do that. It specifically states that those records are kept in-house, cannot be removed, cannot be photocopied, cannot be transposed unless I end business, and then I must relinquish those records to ATF. So, of course, you know, in the last 5-10 years, we've seen a flush of FFLs that suddenly I'm a gun dealer. Well, are you looking to make a quick buck, or are you actually a dealer that in a situation like that, you'd put a stop to it? You'd be a whistleblower. You say, well, this isn't protocol. It's not even legal. And you can't do that. I think there needs to be some liability put back on the FFLs of actually safeguarding that information, right? Our job as an FFL is to do a background check to determine the legality of that person's possession and ownership of a firearm. That's it. We're not supposed to transmit, and we don't transmit the serial number, the type of gun. Well, we do the type of gun, but serial number, make, model, all of that stuff to ATF. It's simply a background check to determine legality. And if we're not safeguarding that information for our clients, the ATF shouldn't even give that information.
Might as well be putting that on our Facebook pages.
Yeah.
Matt, would that change from state to state? Because I'm glad to hear you say that. But do you think that changes? You're in Texas, right?
No,
Yeah.
the ATF rules are the ATF rules.
Yeah, it's federal guideline. So federal stipulations say, and that's the affidavit that we sign as FFLs when we become dealers, is that we will maintain those records for life for the duration of our business. Once we shut down, we relinquish those files to, or actually we don't even have to. I'm on my second FFL. I have the records from my first one when we were back a small business on my property. I still have those files. All the paper 4473s, my logbook. ATF has contacted me and said, "Hey, that license is out of business. Do you want to turn those in?" I can take those down to them. Or I can also shoulder that burden of keeping them in my possession forever. I've chosen to do that because my clients, the guns they've bought, when they've bought them, how many it's been, what type it is, in my opinion, is nobody's business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only obligated to report to ATF that they're a legal purchaser and obtainer of a firearm and what type of firearm it is. And most of that's for age. Making sure that someone under 21 isn't acquiring a handgun.
That's good to hear. I hope everybody is as ethical as you are.
They're not. And I'll tell you that right now. And I've got, and Keith has probably seen it as well. Right here in our local area, we have people that were, you could apply this to FFLs, you could apply this to firearms instructors that I don't really know jack crap about it, but I'm going to be a manufacturer, a dealer, a gunsmith, or whatever. And if I actually go through the proper licensing to do it, it's really just to appease the government. And no, they won't safeguard their records. They probably haven't taken the time to read the law and read statute, not only local but federal, to know what their rights are as a dealer. ATF agent comes in my shop and wants to take pictures, I'm going to shut it down. It's not happening because federal law says that you're not even legal to do that.
Yeah,
but
New York
does every FFL, does the FFL operating out of his garage, the small guy, the guy that's the first year in business, is he going to have the testicular fortitude to do that? Probably not, because to him it's a side gig, just trying to make an extra buck on the weekends, not actually understanding that what the process is and what my duty to my clients is.
Yeah, it's kind of scary to think about that. I mean, I think a lot of people, maybe you guys know better than I do, that some people are just scared because it's the ATF, it's the federal government showing up. And so they're going to be bullied into letting them do whatever they want. I think that's part of it too. I don't know. You guys would know better than I do, Keith, Matt.
But just like anybody else in the world or whatever, they're going to get away with whatever you allow them to get away with. And if they can get away with more than what their purview or scope of their authority is, they're going to. And then you know what? It's going to come back on you because they're going to say, you know what? He let me do this and I'm not supposed to be allowed to do it. He shouldn't, and then how does it snowball or go downhill from there?
Looky there. We came full circle all the way back to education being paramount.
Yeah. I'm a manufacturer. I only do transfers for close personal friends and family. Otherwise, I literally sell to dealers and distributors. I don't want to deal with the 4473s. But that said, 20 years I ran finance departments for car dealerships, and it is absolutely drilled into you. You stand up and you protect that person's information. You do not share it, unless you have. And what people need to realize is it's no different than you going to the doctor. Is it okay for the doctor or anyone else to share anything about you with anybody outside of your consent? The answer is hell no.
But what if the Surgeon General comes in?
Hell no.
Well, actually,
exactly.
We found out this year that our doctors and our medical personnel do have to share that information with the federal government.
No, they don't. HIPAA says they
Have
don't.
to, they
It's a
have to
violation.
know when we are vaccinated or not.
Yeah, no, bullshit. The problem is that American people have gotten too complacent with not knowing their rights. And when people don't know their rights, guess what happens? A lot of people, they just get snowballed, you know, and I've seen it in the car world. When I ran car dealerships, I've seen banks literally try to snowball someone. And I've said, hey, wait a minute. That's not how this works. And once they have someone on the phone who knows the law or knows their rights, whole different story. But people do not, like Matt started earlier in the show, people are inherently lazy. They don't try to educate themselves on what their rights are, what the laws are. And unfortunately, in society currently, I think someone else posted earlier, I think it was Jan posted, we put too much credibility into feelings. My oldest daughter gets mad at me because I'll tell her, your feelings don't matter. Period. If you make a decision based on feelings, 99% of the time it's the wrong goddamn decision.
Exactly.
And she's like, well, you married mom because you love her. I said, nope. I didn't even marry my wife, who I love to death. And both of these gentlemen know my wife. I did not marry her because of feelings. She makes me a better, calmer, more centered person because that's what mattered. You know, the love was secondary. I do absolutely love my wife, but I do not make decisions in my life out of emotion.
And so you better
I'm scared of your wife. I don't know.
I know you. I know your wife. I know your wife. You better say you love her.
3 of these gentlemen know my wife. But people need to get away from thinking that feelings matter, because what people lose sight of is your feelings change. Like, you know, Steve here, when I met him, I thought, God, this guy's a dumbass. And now I think, you know, he's a really nice dumbass. But, you know.
Well, he's our dumbass, though.
Huh?
He's our dumbass.
He is, and we love Peaches.
That's one of the reasons why I'm very grateful for what I have, because right now with my broken foot, it's a little bit of a pain in the ass getting stuff done around the house. So my garage is becoming more and more overwhelmed. It's becoming like the last scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark when they put the Ark in that government warehouse. That's kind of what my garage looks like right now. There's like this one track that you got to wiggle your way through.
You realize if we have any millennials watching, they have no idea what you just said.
Yeah. But Lori's in there trying to move boxes around. She's got her boxes. I got my boxes. It's like, what's in this box? Ammo. What's in this box? Ammo. What's in that box? Ammo. What's in that box? I think ammo. No, something else. Open it. It's ammo. And a normal wife would be like, how much ammo do you need? She's like,
you don't have a problem until your wife comes from the laundry room with a handful of ammo that she's collected from the washer and dryer while she's doing the laundry. That's when you know you have a problem.
No, it's happened. It's happened to you. You know what happened to that ammo? It wound up in my gumball machine.
Well, can I say something based on education? Just give Matt and Steve a chance, because it does go to education about PTSD and everything else, to talk about the event that's coming up here in November.
Yes.
Know about that.
Yes, please do.
Go for it,
yeah,
man.
Good stuff, man. Appreciate that. So Corporal Chad O Foundation for PTSD, they're a local organization here in Texas. Corporal Chad Olerschlager, I think I'm saying his name right. Multiple tours. Long story short, basically opioid conflict and his treatment. Ended up losing his life to medical complications. His mom, his dad, and his high school best friend started the Corporal Chad O Foundation for PTSD. Their goal was to move away from opioids, Western medicine, and find effective treatment through not only supplements, but through counseling, through a non-opioid path to gain healing for these families, not just the veteran or the first responder, because they don't just do veterans, they do first responders as well. But not just for them, but also for their family. A lot of these families, have gone through emotional turmoil. If the the spouse is dealing with, severe PTSD, with suicidal thoughts, issues, unable to hold a job, whatever, obviously that's going to affect the entire family. So they take an approach to provide help and healing to the family as well, the spouse, the kids, whatever. R2 Ammo started working with them, I guess, about 5 years ago. Here in Leander, Texas, they do their annual fundraiser at the Leander VFW for their annual fundraising event. So we got involved with them about 5 years ago, supplying the handgun for the raffles. It was just our way to give back, help them boost, go out. We usually throw in some classes and stuff to help raise money for them. This year, I don't really know how it happened, what got into it. Steve may have a better memory than I do, but one day we got the bright idea that we wanted to host an event, put together. We don't really have anything in this area. We used to have some events here in the Central Texas area at some of the facilities that were available that drew a lot of people, the gun industry focused, and it's just kind of gone away. We did the launch party for 5150 and Kieth and his whole group and family back in April, March, February. Yeah, wow. Sometime back in the past, we did the event for them, had several other vendors kind of showcasing 5150, and the amount of people that we had through our little shop on that day was kind of, I think, overwhelming to all of us in a small 4-hour period. Frank was there.
I was going to say, you even had somebody fly in all the way from North Carolina.
Yeah, we even had the big name celebrity Frank Johnson in with Liberty First Foundation, came in, and you actually did a live podcast from our shop, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So anyway, we had a ton of people come through, just kind of blew us away. One of the things we kept hearing people say was, "Man, this is really cool. You should do more of this. There's nothing like this around." So Steve and I got to talking, and I honestly don't even know how it was birthed, but suddenly we decided that we wanted to put on an event, make it this super awesome, great day with pretty much everything you could pack into it. And we wanted the benefits to go to raise money for Corporal Chad O Foundation. Their biggest obstacle, obviously, is funding, right? No treatment is free. Even with the absence of opioids or Western medicine, it's still not free. So we basically embarked on this endeavor to plan an event to raise money for Corporal Chad O Foundation. And then we started planning it, and we realized holy crap, we've never done anything like this before, and we might kind of be in over our heads. But we've had, a tremendous outpouring. Corporal Chad O Foundation's board has come alongside. They're doing a lot of footwork, helping us out. Basically, it's going to be an all-day event on November 12th, which is the day after Veterans Day, out at Reveille Peak Ranch here, Burnett, Texas, which is about 30 miles to the west of us. Full packed day. The focus is bringing the gun community together, training and education, not just in firearms. We're going to have some knife instruction. We're going to have some stop the bleed type of gunshot wound type guy, a local guy here that's very versed, retired Austin Fire Department, very versed in trauma medicine. So we're kind of have a well-rounded day. Blackbird Anthem concert that night. I don't want to take all the show. So Steve, why don't you pipe in and kind of talk about everything we got planned and what our needs are at this point even.
Yeah. Like Matt said, our focus, it was weird. We were sitting at the shop eating lunch, and, we said, well, let's do another event. And, but we wanted to make it a learning experience, right? Everybody can have these field days where you have, bazillion food trucks and, nobody really gets involved. So we wanted to make it a community event. So like Matt said, we'll kick off at 7 a.m, kind of a mix of the training. He touched on the stop the bleed and the knife. The more shooting is going to be like dynamic pistol, some weapon transitions, and then we're also going to incorporate the juniors as well. We had talked at several of the matches that you keep seeing, the same shooters over and over again. Guys, our sport's going to die if we don't get these juniors involved and we get them involved in the right way. So we've got 2 junior shooters coming in. They're near and dear to my heart and Keith's heart. Yep. Nate Schmidt from Indiana's coming in to help teach, and then Connor Freiberger from Fredericksburg, Texas is another one. He'll be coming in to teach the juniors. But our big thing is to make this, a community event. So, the Blackbird Anthem concert, I actually met those guys at an event that I went to a year ago last week for the 14th Hour Foundation with Chris Brano. and we become instant friends. Matt, I think, talks to Adam more than I do. But yeah, I mean, we're looking for sponsors, looking for vendors. We want to have a huge vendor village. It does not necessarily have to be gun related. It'd be great if it was. Auction items are great. We're looking to raise quite a bit of money for Chatto. They've stood by us. It doesn't matter if we're doing, event for another charity. They're sharing our stuff and helping us promote. Jazz Mom's a great lady. The whole family's just been great to her too. They've been great to me, and they don't even, they've met me a handful of times. So, the more that we can get the word out and, start promoting that event and what we've got planned, it'd be awesome.
So a roundup on the day, we're looking at for our adult participants, which is going to include 4 training clinics, lunch, T-shirt, and a concert that night. $150, which is a pretty cheap day. If you go somewhere for lunch and buy a T-shirt and listen to a concert, you're probably going to end up getting the clinics for free. We've got some great instructors coming in. I know Steve mentioned a couple. On the adult side, we've got Diversified Defense, Vic and Julie as our knife instructors. We've got Code 3 Medical, Lee Vernon here locally as our medical instructor. And then we've got Cindy Coker and Courtney Gray. Courtney Gray is actually sponsored by 5150. Cindy Coker is a brand ambassador for R2 Ammo. Has been she's been running our ammo for a few years now. So we got a couple ladies coming in to do some instruction. We will have a squad split up between adult co-ed and adult female. So if we've got females out there, maybe they're new to shooting. This is for all levels of shooting, for all levels of experience. We want the people who are very green, who are new to the firearms industry. We want the people maybe who've been shooting 3-gun. Not only will it be good training for you, but you may have something to offer the rest of the group as well. So it's well-rounded. We want everyone to fit in and find their spot. So we created the female squad so that the ladies can just, if you want to come out and you're maybe a little timid or whatever, or maybe you just want to hang out with the girls, we got a spot for you. Juniors as well, we want to get them, like Steve said, that's the future of the industry. If we don't get them trained, interested, and responsible with guns, then it's probably going to affect how they vote and how they view down the road. The ultimate goal being trying to raise money for Chatto and help these families that are suffering for something that shouldn't even be affecting them after they get home, but is breaking families apart and destroying people and destroying lives. So that's our goal.
Well, on as much as we would like to be able to be out there for the event, we don't know if we're going to be able to make the trip up there. However, we have been in contact with the good folks over at High Point, and then they are going to be sending us a High Point 9mm carbine along with one of their 2022 High Point pistols, all in a full forge gear bag. And we are going to be doing a review of both of those guns on the Range Report channel, and then packaging them up and sending them out to you guys as seen on YouTube fundraising package that you guys can use to say, hey, they're not 5150 caliber carbines here, but they'll get the job done for you. And it's a way that we've been able to try and help contribute from us and the good folks over at High Point and Full Forge Gear. So we're going to see about working on a little bit of extra stuff, but for now, that's what we know that the Liberty First Foundation is sending out for you guys.
Well, man, that's badass, and thank you to Frank, thank you to Liberty First, thank you to High Point. It's all about the gear, right? Kieth has stepped up. He's one of our title sponsors. We're going to be auctioning off one of his. It's PCC we're doing, right, Kieth?
Yeah, we're doing a 9mm PCC that we're going to do some engraving on, custom paint, and which is, that's how we got into the industry. That's how I met Frank. Is doing one-off engraved guns, crazy looking things for charities. That hasn't changed. We make normal looking guns now too, but
well, I wouldn't call the Evolve rifles normal looking. I wouldn't say they look normal. I would say they look a little bit more evolved than normal.
Well, I appreciate that. But we're going to take one of our rifles, and it's going to be one of the low serial numbers we've been holding on to. I think it's serial number 4. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's serial number 4. Yeah, we're gonna do a little bit of engraving and let Steve and you decide on the paint. Yeah, just do whatever we can to contribute and help out.
All right. Now, while you're talking about your PCCs, do you have one handy that you can show everybody why these things are so completely unique and why I feel are the most innovative guns in the last 20 years?
Whip it out, Keith. Whip it out.
So this is serial number 1. We've revised the rack system as Matt's beautiful T-shirt says. Rack stands for Rapid Action Cam. So in place of the rear takedown pin here, you actually have a cam. You're literally going to.
Can we get the Keith screen full screen so we can all better see that?
Well, he needs to be 4 3/4 because of his finger.
Don't start.
There we go. All right, I want everybody to take a look at this system. You got to see this up close and personal.
So this is the rack system. Now this is serial number 1. We've actually evolved it, not to use our own gun name against us, but since this version. So you'll see a cam here at the back. You're literally going to throw this lever to there. On the original one, you roll. That's your breakdown.
Nice.
Go back, lock it together. Now that said, that was our original. That is what we debuted at SHOT Show last year. Here's what it's gone to now. This is my personal SBR. So now you got a little button here at the back. That's to make sure if you're shooting heavier recoiling rounds, drop the gun, whatever. There's no possible way it's going to unlock. You're literally just going to press that button. You swing to 180 degrees. There's your breakdown. It's that simple every time. And so in less than 10 seconds, you can literally change from a 10-inch to, out to a 16-inch. It's literally just seconds. You just hit the button, throw the lever, break the gun down. So we developed this with input from current and prior service military and law enforcement, asking them what the single weakest point in their opinion was. And overwhelmingly, it was takedown pivot pin system. In fact, at SHOT Show last year, several veterans came through. A couple almost brought to tears. Steve worked our booth with us last year. He'll remember. And saying if they had this system when they were in country, it would have saved lives. One of them said he might even still have use of his legs. He had, side note, the coolest wheelchair I've ever seen. It had tank treads. But the story he told me, if it didn't move you damn near to tears, then you're just not human. And our boys overseas fighting for us, and the men and women in blue should absolutely never be outgunned. They should always have the right tool for the situation. A lot of these people are having now on the law enforcement side having to buy their own rifles, their own weapons. And so we wanted them, a lot of times they're, unfortunately law enforcement don't make a whole lot. So they'll have to, but there are a lot of departments requiring to buy not only a 16-inch rifle, but an AR pistol or SBR. So we wanted to design something that they could go from a 16-inch, with upper with a magnified optic down to something short for close quarters work in less than 10 seconds. Same for our military. Should the system end up in the military hands, I want them to know that if they're exterior of building and they're going interior, that in less than 10 seconds, they can swap their upper and go close quarters and have a nice short controlled size weapon where it's not sticking a foot out in front of them that someone can grab a hold of their muzzle and overtake them or take their weapon from them. I do not want that to ever happen to anyone in our armed forces or law enforcement. Furthermore, for the civilian side, the consumer side, using my wife as the example, when she built her first AR, traditional mil-spec AR, she left the room cursing at high volume several times. And the reason being was, she literally was talking about, the pin system. Who designed this? This must have been a man that designed this. This is stupid. This makes no sense. Why has no one done anything about this? New shooters get overwhelmed. They can actually be turned off of firearms because they're intimidated by the functionality or how to maintain, clear, or operate, service the weapon. Taking that out of it, I feel will make the weapon a lot more approachable to people coming into the industry. Furthermore, my gun locks together tighter. There is no wobble or shake anymore like you see in a traditional AR. So it actually shoots flatter. There's less felt recoil and no muzzle, almost no muzzle rise. Steve can attest. He's shot almost every single gun we've now assembled. If there's anything Steve would like to pipe in on, he actually is also affiliated with us.
Can I jump in real quick before he gets going?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the weight of your receiver sets?
Yeah. So
do you have? I already know the answer to this because I'm a partner for yours. But do you have? What if I wanted 45-degree offsets on my rifle?
So our handguards, we didn't have this out yet, Frankie, when you made yours. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I rushed mine into production. I wanted mine before anybody else had theirs.
He did. The handguards actually feature an integral 45-degree red dot mounting pad, as well as full-length Arca rail, M-lock, QD mounts. So that actually you can literally, we took a measurement, pupil measurement from the top of your Picatinny rail from the top of the upper receiver. And we moved that center of bore at 45 degrees just above the barrel nuts. So you're not going to be worried about the harmonics or anything from your barrel. When you roll to 45 for close quarters or whatever, so hunters are liking it because then they, say they missed, then not that the hunter's ever going to admit this. Hogg's running up on them because they missed the shot. They can roll to 45 and pop the hog. Because when you roll to 45, the way we did the measurement is actually hit your eye at the same point as if it was mounted on the top rail of the gun. Arca rail, if you're not familiar with it, originally invented for cameras. It's become very popular in bipods and tripods for long distance shooters as well as hunters. All sorts of ways to adapt this to whatever you're using, but also most things you're going to shoot off of, whether you're in the military and law enforcement, a competitive shooter or hunter, are flat. So it actually feels real natural in the hand, but it also is real good if you have to post up on something, embrace yourself on something. My lower receiver itself only weighs 7 ounces. My whole 16-inch AR is only 6 pounds.
Oh, light.
Which is 1 pound lighter than bullseye competition certified rimfire rifles.
It's pretty light. Our competition guns are under 5. But we took an inch out of the mag well to little easier mag changes. We worked the internal geometry around some of the most difficult magazines in the industry. It will drop 20 round mags like no problem. We also made the trigger guard big enough that you could be Andre the Giant wearing snow gloves, and you can still safely and comfortably manipulate your trigger.
Which for big idiots like me with my bear mitts, that I can't get my finger into most trigger guards. That one I don't have any problem with.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We come standard with a 3.5 pound flat trigger like this. On the law enforcement model, it's a 4.5 pound curved, and then we also have the option of a 2 pound that's featured in my personal gun that I carry around with me. They all come standard with 45-degree short throw safeties now. We just contracted with a new Ambi charging handle. So your safety, the lever system, the rack system, and the charging handle, they're all Ambi, operate from both sides of the gun. We do have some stuff coming out eventually for lefties. That's about all I can say about that. And everything on this gun, it doesn't matter, pin, screw, spring, furniture, everything is 100% American made. The metal, every single component is American made. It actually every gun comes with a hard case. The hard case is American made in North Carolina. That's not too far from Jersey, right, Frank?
Yeah.
And for dealers, we actually brand to try and generate. We're all about partnerships, like Matt said. He's a brand partner. I don't view him as a dealer. It's a partnership. So to drive business back to them, because someone will take our gun to the range or will take it out hunting, we actually brand the top of our hard cases with the dealer's logo, not ours.
How many manufacturers do you know that will deliver a rifle that you sold as a distributor and come in with a case that not only has the 5150 logo and all their information on, but also your logo burned into the hard case? I know of one, and it's 5150.
Wow. Yeah, we have a lifetime guarantee and basically excludes anything stupid. So you're out in the backwoods in a holler and you throw my gun in the fire pit and you forget to get it out. Yeah, I ain't gonna warranty that shit. But anything else short of that, I'm gonna warranty my gun. We tested it by running it over the 6,000-pound truck. This gun is just shy of 3,000 rounds without a single failure.
Nice.
And for those, you say, okay, well, that's great. You can pop the upper off and put it back on real quick. Well, how does that really work for me? Well, for you guys that like to run multiple calibers on your guns, but you don't really have the ability to afford that many guns to begin with, say you get yourself something chambered in 223, 556, but then you say, you know what, I might want something that's in 300 blackout. Well, you're going to order yourself another upper for it. So now you have two uppers in one case. You open it up, you put whichever one you want in there to go for whatever point you want to go for. The carbine is the same thing. As long as your magazine fits in the mag, well, you can pull your upper off and swap a different caliber up for the top. Now, you got just about every caliber under God's green earth covered with what you can produce with these things.
Mm-hmm. We just got set up to be able to do 22 long rifles. To piggyback off of something Frank told me from meeting none other than Pete Brownell, there are states that you are limited on how many serial numbered firearms you can acquire in a month, a year, whatever. There's countries that you're only allowed to own one serial numbered firearm. Well, guess what? That's the firearm. That's an accessory. So now, or furthermore, we're all married, right? Your wife says you can't buy any more guns. Well, sweetheart,
it's not a gun.
An accessory. I just bought an accessory.
That sounds like a gun show loophole to me.
I don't know, but I'm pissed off. I paid all that money for a divorce. I could have just done that.
Well, then what did they say? It's cheaper to keep it. Well, I gotta say, I have a 5150.
I have one in New York.
I'm sorry?
Now, if I could have one in New York.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, you can. My gun is legal in AR in New York as long as I ship it with a non-removable magazine that you side load for 10 rounds. I've already looked into it. It's available on my website.
Okay, I have checked into it.
Or if you can have a removable magazine, but you'd have to just put one of them stubby grips on it.
It changes your grip. It changes your butt stock. No muzzle device.
No muzzle device. You have to fixed stock on it. You can't have a top carry handle, and God forbid you put on a bayonet lug. that just
I will not personally own a gun without a bayonet. I don't know about you, but I have to have a bayonet.
Well, how else are you going to drive the point home?
Exactly.
But as somebody, as a customer of the 5150 rifle company, as somebody who's now got several rounds through that gun, good Lord, that thing shoots sweet. And everybody, no matter who it is that they see that thing, they're like, holy shit, are you kidding me? And everybody's taken back when they see that. Now, granted, mine has got a couple less bells and whistles on it than the ones that is available right now, because I kind of put the screws to Kieth and company as far as getting it out to me as quickly as I possibly could get. But man, that thing is nice. Everybody who shoots it says the same thing, that they've never seen anything like it. Telling Keith today,
like Keith was saying, I think I've literally shot every gun that's been produced thus far. But I was telling him today that I'm literally spoiled to the point where I've got mil-spec guns. I want to get rid of them because they're not comfortable to shoot. I've shot, what we call benchmark type rifles, and I competed with his competition gun. So, I mean, these things they're very, very consistent on the way they shoot. They're very, very lightweight. They maneuver very, very well, and they're reliable. I think that benchmark gun that he showed you that has right about 4,000 rounds through it, it had never been cleaned until it became my demo rifle. And I cleaned it for the first time, and I could have kept going. So, I mean, that gun is, they're absolutely phenomenal. He's
Steve,
done it
that's
right.
not a fair. That's not really a fair benchmark though, because all of his guns have ran R2 ammo. So
True,
if you're running something else off the shelf, it's probably going to need cleaned sooner.
That's a very
Shameless
good
plug.
point.
Sorry.
And speaking
did
of R2
compete with
ammo,
you.
where are my where are my tracer rounds? I need my tracer rounds soon.
What caliber?
9mm.
I got you.
Okay.
Do you
All right,
want do you want just tracers, or do you want incendiaries too?
No, I can't use incendiaries where I'm at because it's going to be for the outdoor test.
You should move.
Dude, I moved from New York to North Carolina. I'm trying to get as free as I can get.
Hey,
all right.
hey, Matt, can we make sure that Frank's tracers are really, really masculine? I'm thinking hot pink, purple.
Dude, I don't care what color it's in.
Oh,
I want it to look like Princess Leia out there shooting.
You just wait till you see the high point rifle that I'm sending out for you guys to raise money with. You just wait.
Frankie, did you find the New Jersey in your gun yet?
No, I haven't. But I also haven't taken it apart yet. I'm trying to keep it as dirty as I could possibly get it to keep proving how good it is. Yeah, that's the first thing he says. Oh, I left you a little Easter egg on the gun. And I spent like 2 hours with my magnifying glass looking for the little New Jersey logo somewhere on it. I haven't found it yet.
There isn't one. I decided I wouldn't do that to you.
I know, but I wasted 2 hours looking.
You know, Frank, this year at Texas 3 Gun, I thought of you because the ruts from your camper are still at Reveille Peak.
I'll have to let Alex know about that. Because we needed like 4 pickup trucks to pull us out. Because am I back far enough? Am I back far enough?
Needs,
when we went back far enough, and then we felt the truck sink down 1 foot, I said, "Yeah, I think we're far enough."
That was horrible. That match was horrible. We do offer LE and military discounts as well. We take care of our heroes.
Sweet.
Well, a good time was had by all.
Yeah.
All right, listen. We're running on 2 hours, which I think is way longer than most of us anticipated being around tonight. We were supposed to be joined by Alex, but Alex couldn't make it in. He was running some security at his church this evening. Texted and let us know that he was sorry he couldn't make it in. But listen, I want to thank all you guys for coming in and hanging out and having a good time with us. All the links for everything that you guys explained tonight will all be down in the descriptions. And as you know, we try to share your stuff as much as possible. I'll leave it to Michael, but Dan, Steve, Matt, Steve, thank you. Michael. I'm the only guy with my own name here. Me and Dan are the only 2 guys with our own name. Next time I have to have Dan Abraham stop in too, so I'll be the only Frank here.
Right.
But listen, Dan, I'm going to send you a link for Keith's rifle. I think that's something that you would really get a kick out of taking a look at.
I definitely want to check them out. Absolutely.
It is some cool stuff.
Yeah. Yep. Looks cool.
And if you come out, we'll arrange a range day so you can get hands on with one, and then we'll custom build and custom coat whatever you want.
I'm coming to Texas. I'm going to be speaking at the Gun Rights Policy Conference in September.
Oh, nice.
In Dallas. I don't know where are you guys?
We're about 2.5, 3 hours from there.
Yeah, 2.5, 3 hours south.
Yeah. Not too bad.
Maybe I can. I'm also trying to hook up with Ted Nugent's PR.
Okay.
Maybe
if you go out to Sunrise Ranch, I'm going with you.
We'll see. That's something I'm trying to set up, but we'll see. We'll see if that actually happens. But
at the Shadow event, we may bring out Struggle, give Frank another go at hitting the target with the first magazine.
Hey, I hit it from 1,030.
Yeah. How many magazines, Frank?
1 magazine. It was a 30 rounder, but it was 1 magazine. But Dan, if you go out there and you want somebody to open up for comic relief for you, let me know. I'll show up.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I will make the attempt to going out there with you. We'll take a flight out there. We'll go. We'll have a good time.
Oh, it'll be a blast.
Hey, Frank, as an ammunition manufacturer, we absolutely love shooters like you.
I know. Well, hey.
Hey, how is it, Frank? I gotta ask that an 8-year-old in the rain hit the target the first fucking shot, and you had to go to another magazine.
I don't know.
It wasn't the gun. It wasn't the Radco lube. I can tell you that.
It was not my gun. I guarantee it was not my gun.
No. Hey, I held where you said to hold.
Wasn't me. It was Dustin. It was Dustin from Athlon.
Well, then you talk to him about it, because I'm telling. He tells me, yeah, just hold top. Top to the left, just a little to the left at the top. Okay, that's where I'm holding, and nothing happens.
Frank, that's not 2 inches.
I swear to guys, you guys always are real wise asses when I'm not there. When I'm not standing next to you.
I'm the same no matter where you're standing.
Yeah, I know, because I'm not going to hit you. I love you guys too much.
Hey, just for the record, we're still finding gummy bears in our store. So let's not go there, shall we?
Don't blame me for the gummy bears. That was your wife started that shit.
Oh, throw my wife under the bus. Who brought the gummy bears, Frank? Who came in my store with the freaking gummy bears?
All right, I brought them, but I also came into the store with 6 boxes of Girl Scout cookies. I was trying to be nice and
Miranda's just as crazy as Danielle is. I'm scared of both of them.
How did I get no fucking Girl Scout cookies?
What? We had cookies?
Whoops.
Yeah, I brought Girl Scout. Well, I'm sorry. We were looking for a screw for your gun, and I came across the Girl Scout booth, and I bought all their cookies.
Marshall,
and I brought them back to them. I brought them back. I had one freaking cookie. I spent $40 on cookies. I had one. And you're gonna yell at me about gummy bears. Bastards.
Yeah. 6 months later, we're still finding gummy bears all over the shop. Yeah.
God, I can only imagine.
You try to be nice to some people.
Dan, Voss, Marshall, y'all are going to have to come down and experience the circus sideshow that is.
It sounds exactly like
I
that.
wanted to come when you had your launch event, but I just wasn't able to. Had some medical issues going on.
Yeah, he was still in the medical care at the time. He couldn't make the trip.
Are any of y'all going to make it to shot?
I'm doing the best I can. I'm making hella high water this year. I got to get there. From what I understand, there's a booth that has portable kegs that are going to be in the supply.
I confirmed our booth today, so we're good to go.
I know where I'll be for that week. Standing right next to the other bald guy.
Yep.
And the Irishman in the kilt.
Him?
I don't know if he's bringing the kilt. We're going to try. My business partner up in Massachusetts, David, Optimum Parts, makes the single best scope mount on the planet. He immigrated here from Ireland and then immediately went into engineering firearms. We for our launch party, we got him to wear the kilt, and every once in a while, we still try to get him to bring it out.
Nice.
That and his step stool.
If he's wearing the kilt, Frank, you don't want him on the step stool.
Man. We're close enough to Austin out here that men in dresses is.
Yeah, that's pretty normal.
It's pretty normal.
I'll rock a kilt too, baby. I got the legs for it.
No, absolutely not.
We're good.
No. Yeah.
Except I'm going to go genuine. Al fresco.
No, hard pass. Hard pass on that one.
Don't mention the word hard. No hard.
Okay. Well, I was going to do my Superman impression and
Oh God.
show you how I keep myself balanced.
Man, if you can get out here in November, we could probably work that into some sort of additional fundraising event for Chad O Foundation. Somehow you in a kilt. I don't know. We could go a lot of directions with that. I'm sure we could find something that would be a revenue generator for veterans with PTSD.
Well, let me finish dropping my 25 pounds that I had to drop, and then we'll talk about it again.
You'd be the first guy on earth that's like getting dollar bills. Put it back on. Put it back on.
It's gonna cost you more than that, baby. Once I'm freewheeling and feeling the breeze,
Oh, buddy,
All
it's
right,
Texas.
all right.
There ain't no breeze.
Yeah, I know.
All right, fellas, I'm going to roll.
Yep.
All right.
So am I.
All right, Dan.
Guys,
you,
you all
Dan.
listen. Thank you all. Much love to all
Thanks,
of you
guys.
guys. Have a
Good night,
great
guys.
night.
All
All
right.
right.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. I want to
Fucker's
thank
always
everybody
making fun of
for
me.
joining us tonight. I want to thank all of our viewers tuning in. Again, you can find us on L1F.us, Liberty First Foundation. You can also find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, etc. Just do a search for Liberty First Foundation and you will find us. If you want to help us out, we can always use the help. One of the best ways that you can help us is to like, share, and comment on our posts and on this broadcast.
And
So with
subscribe.
that, I want to thank everybody and good night, and we'll see you all next week.
Not everyone.
Good night, everyone. Be safe and shoot straight.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome.